Every year when the preseason hits, Riot typically makes sweeping changes to the jungle that causes you to have to relearn everything. But this year was different, right? There was only one major change to the jungle. The first Rift Scuttler now grants 80% less experience. On the surface, this doesn't seem like a big deal, but in reality, this completely put jungle pathing on its head. In order to understand why this is the case, you first need to understand what the pathing meta was prior to this change. But before we jump back to last season, I wanted to let you guys know that we've completely updated our jungle route course at SkillCapped.com. You can find our updated route recommendations for every single jungle champion in the game. For example, don't know Lee Sin's best route? Well, use our quick start guide to find his recommended routes for blue and red buff starts. Then it's as simple as watching our guides on those routes to start pathing like a challenger, crushing the early game, and snowballing to victory. Check it out along with a discount link in the description below. Anyways, back to the guide. Firstly, last season there was the dominance of what's known as a 5 camp. For example, if you started blue, you would do blue, Gromp, wolves, raptors, and red. This is, you guessed it, 5 camps. To put the popularity of this route into perspective, the 5 camp was the recommended route for 51% of junglers when starting at their blue. The main benefit of this route is that it would put you on the map early enough to get the scuttle before it spawns, and after killing the scuttle you would hit level 4. It was very safe and efficient, and you could always react to things on the map. For example, after doing blue, Gromp, wolves, if you saw a lane needed your help, you could transition out of the 5 camp, skip your raptors, and just kill your red to do a 4 camp so you could gank faster. At the same time, it completely nullified doing a full clear as an option for 99% of champions. For example, if you do blue, Gromp, wolves, raptors, and red, why would you then take Krugs for level 4, which are notoriously slow to kill, when you could just smite the scuttle and kill it in a few seconds to hit level 4 instead? What this meant was that full clearing was only reserved for the lucky few that could full clear by the 3:15 timing. That's when the scuttle spawns, as they could then contest the scuttle with a level 4 advantage. So as you can see, the 5 camp route was pretty strong and it dominated the meta. And yet, after combing through over 100 challenger replays on the preseason patch from Korea, EU West, and North America, the 5 camp route dropped to less than 5% in popularity. So what in the world has happened? Well, that 80% XP nerf on the first scuttle spawn means when you execute a 5 camp on the current patch, you can't hit level 4 off it anymore, you'll still be level 3. And as you can imagine, this is a massive nerf to the 5 camp route. All of a sudden, it makes no sense to do a 5 camp and go for the scuttle for the purpose of gold or experience. You're better off just moving on to your final camp, which is a full clear, as it will net you level 4, more gold, and it's more efficient in the long term since that camp will now respawn at a higher level. Now, you might be thinking, cool, I got it, just full clear as the first scuttle is now worthless. Well, it's not quite that simple. Let me explain. Let's say we went back in time and we're playing in the last season when the scuttle gave more experience. We start blue, Gromp, and then do wolves. At this point, you're level 3, and so in theory, you could gank a lane if a gank was available. You could also consider just doing red, which is a 4 camp, to gank faster as well. But in both of these instances, think of what you're giving up. You would be sacrificing the consistent power that the 5 camp gives you. You would know if you just ignore those two options and did raptors then red for a 5 camp, you could then kill that scuttle for this strong level 4 timing. And so those more aggressive options suddenly became far too risky compared to the consistent power we would get from the 5 camp, which is why the 5 camp was so popular and dominant. Okay, let's jump back in our time machine and come back to the present and compare that same scenario on the current patch. We do blue, Gromp, and then wolves. Again, you're level 3, so in theory, can gank a lane if a gank was available. We can also consider just doing red, the 4 camp, to gank faster as well. Or we can kill raptors and red, a 5 camp. All 3 of those options still leave us at level 3. It's not until we commit to an entire full clear do we finally hit our level 4 spike as a jungler. As you can see, the 3 camp, 4 camp, and 5 camp are much similar in power levels, with the full clear being the strongest option. Again, the question comes up, okay, so why shouldn't I just full clear every game then? Well, here is the missing puzzle piece. When you would do a 5 camp, you would always skip your Krugs, which is by far the slowest camp to kill in the game. If we want to full clear to hit level 4, we have to commit to clearing that slow Krug camp now, and this significantly delays the time it takes us to impact the map with that level 4 spike. It's easier to explain with a visual. For example, say this was last season, and the y-axis was the power level of the route. If you started blue, it would look something like this. The difference between the 5 camp and the second place option was pretty significant. Now, in the preseason, it looks more like this, where the gap between the first place option, the full clear, and the second place option is a bit less significant. But enough theory, let me show you what this actually looks like in a real game. Here's a challenger jungler from Korea playing Lee Sin. He does blue, Gromp, and wolves. After he finishes his wolves, he's level 3, so he has to ask himself, should I immediately look to gank off this level 3 timing? Well, let's look at his lanes and find out. Enemy bot lane is pushing, but is full health and going to hit level 2 before the enemy due to the minion advantage, so there's no gank there. If we look mid, our LeBlanc is pushing, Twisted Fate is near full health and at the safety of his tower, also no gank. And if we look top, the enemy Yone is pushed up but has a level and health lead, so no gank there at this exact moment, but Jax will heal up and equalize in levels once the wave thins out. At the same time, top lane is very long and Yone doesn't have a good built-in escape. Our Jax has good engage with his Q and crowd control with his E, so this is definitely on our radar. Alright, so now that we're getting to our Raptors, we have to commit to a decision. Do we take Raptors here and commit to a 5 camp by taking red after, or do we skip Raptors and do a 4 camp instead? Well, when we look top, we can see that the wave will be crashing into Jax's tower shortly and he's playing safe and healing up. So we should skip our Raptors and take our red. That should time out well with the wave crashing, Yone being pushed up and Jax being healed up and caught up in levels. Since we read the map and adapted our route, we executed a good gank on top that gets Yone's flash. And again, now Yone is in a really tough spot, being so pushed up makes for an easy repeat gank. Now, remember how I said it's not as simple as just defaulting into a full clear? Well, look at what the enemy Nocturne did while all of this happened. Red, Krugs, Raptors, Wolves, Blue, Gromp, a full clear, and is now level 4. And so jump back to Lee Sin at this exact timing. He just finished killing Yone and he's still level 3. If we look at the minimap, we can see the scuttle is still up. Last season, this would absolutely suck for Lee Sin, as Nocturne could just double scuttle him with his level 4 advantage. But since scuttles are now worth a lot less, look at what Lee Sin can do instead. He doesn't need that scuttle, he gives it to the Nocturne and instead does his Krugs. And while doing his Krugs, guess what happens? He hits level 4. Hold on, this doesn't add up. Lee Sin has only killed his Blue, Gromp, Wolves, and Red buff. That's only 4 camps. Now killing his Krugs would be 5 camps. You're probably thinking, I thought that you had to full clear to hit level 4 now, so what gives? Well, here's the trick. If you get a successful gank off, the experience from the kill and any minions killed then gives you enough experience to hit level 4 off of a 5 camp. And this is the eureka moment where everything should start to click. Basically, if you don't full clear, you better be certain that the faster gank you're going for is worth it and going to work out. Since if it does, well, you'll still be able to keep up with that early level 4 against full clear champions. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, what about if it doesn't work out and I end up just wasting my time? Well, there's a trick to that too. So here's a Challenger Echo jungle facing the pro-Korean jungler Kuz on Hecarim. Kuz is going to opt into a full clear on Hecarim and so will be level 4. With that in mind, let's see what the enemy Echo jungle does. He kills Red, then Raptors, then Gromp. So he's going for a fast level 3, and it's not like this decision was bad. I mean, look at his lanes. The enemy top is pushed up, but our Yone is too low on health compared to Jax to gank him right at this moment. And the enemy mid is pushed up, and even though Sylas is low, Syndra is low enough that we could solo kill her. So while Hecarim is still clearing his red, Echo is about to gank mid, and as we know, if this gank does work out, Echo should be in a fine position. However, the gank is just terrible. His W completely misses, and Sylas doesn't even E in. It's a complete waste of time. He's only able to soak 2 caster minions, and by the time he's back in his jungle, finishing up his wolf camp, Hecarim is already level 4. On top of this, look at what happens when he clears his blue buff after. He's still level 3. Keep in mind, he cleared Red, Raptors, Wolves, Blue, and Gromp, which is a 5 camp. But since his early gank didn't work out, he's now super far behind. While all of that happened, Hecarim just full cleared, hit level 4, got an easy gank top after, and then took the scuttle. I mean, Kuz has a massive lead at this point and just runs over the rest of the game. Here's the thing, compare this to the Lee Sin replay that we just went over. He didn't get a kill off that first gank either, but he also didn't just immediately go back to farming his jungle. He knew that he needed the kill or to soak lane minion experience to catch up since he didn't opt into a full clear. And I really do want to emphasize here on soaking lane experience. For example, here's a Challenger Lilia. She does Blue, Gromp, Wolves, Raptors into Red, which is a 5 camp. She's sacrificing that power and consistency of the full clear as she reads a possible gank mid. But what happens? Well, nothing, it fails. But instead of going back into her jungle, she makes sure to sit there and soak lane experience so she can then hit level 4. The point I'm making here is that you don't have to just default into full clearing, but you do have to keep in mind that you're going to need to make sure you gain something in return for that sacrifice. If you don't gain enough and the enemy jungle full clears, well, you're going to find yourself really far behind as you can no longer use a scuttle to help make up for that loss of experience. And by the way, when I say you need to make sure you gain something, I don't just mean only ganking. For example, here's a Korean challenger playing Viego. He opts into a fast level 3 of Red, Raptors into Gromp. He then looks at his nearby lanes. Top lane is pushed and not even in lane, so no gank there. And his mid lane is pushed, so no gank there either. Meanwhile, the enemy Talia is going to opt into a full clear. So you're now probably thinking, oh boy, this Viego is absolutely screwed. He just fast level 3'd, has no ganks, and the enemy jungler is going to full clear and get a massive lead on him. But here's the thing, since both his lanes are pushed, it means he has lane priority. So he can use this lane priority and this fast level 3 to actually invade the enemy jungle to then disrupt their ability to full clear. The nearby enemy laners are pinned down by the minion wave, so they can't respond without losing that wave to their tower. Here's another example of a challenger jungler, this time in North America, recognizing the exact same opportunity. He does red, Raptors into Gromp. In the meantime, the enemy Hecarim is opting into the full clear. As Viego finishes his Gromp, he looks at his nearby lanes. His mid lane is pushed, so no gank there, and his bot lane is pushed, so no gank there either. However, what does that mean? Well, he has lane priority for an invade. He knows he can't just sit back and do nothing, as he'll fall too far behind if the enemy gets off a successful full clear. So he prevents that with an invade and kills the enemy Hecarim. Now, I know, some of you are thinking, well, yeah, this all sounds great if you're playing Viego or Xin Zhao or Lee Sin or someone with a strong level 3 who will win that 1v1 if they invade. But what about that Echo replay we saw earlier? Echo did red, Raptors, and Gromp to hit the fast level 3. Similarly, he didn't have the greatest ganks available at the time. And it's not like Echo could invade the Hecarim as an alternative. Firstly, he just lacked lane priority in his lanes. But even if he did have it, Echo doesn't have strong enough sustain damage to consistently win that 1v1. And yeah, if you thought this, you'd be right, which makes you wonder, why did Echo choose to do red, Raptors into Gromp as his opening route in the first place? It's a pretty risky move, considering he's not strong enough to just fall back on invading the enemy jungler if he has no ganks. And for those of you who don't know, that's why Echo's recommended route when starting red is to do red, Krugs into Raptors. Sure, it's a slower level 3 spike, but you can still gank mid at level 3 if it's there, or just fall back on full clearing and peeling off early if something needs your immediate attention. And this just goes to show how something as simple as choosing the wrong opening route can make the game a complete nightmare and destroy any chance you have at winning. And that's why we created our brand new fully updated route course at our website SkillCapped.com. Not only can you find the routes our challenger experts recommend for every single jungle champion, but we then also have detailed, comprehensive guides explaining every single one of those routes in the meta. The fast level 3 when starting at red, 3 camps, 4 camps, 5 camps, full clears, we have it all. But it doesn't stop there. Each one of these guides also has companion videos by a challenger expert breaking down real game examples of the route being used, giving you high level tips you won't find anywhere else. So what are you waiting for? Start crushing the early game and head to skillcapped.com with a discount link in the description below. Alright, so that's going to do it for this one. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching until the end, and we'll catch you in the next one.